My Canadian friend, Nicole Johnston. How are you?
Good. Yourself?
I'm doing great. What's going on up there? I like your title. It says Canadian Indigenous Artist. That's wonderful. So for people who don't follow you, the reason I have you on here because your story is incredible. And starting to unpack this is going to be my goal here. My goal is to start somewhere because there's so much to unpack. I want to make sure I'm getting everything in while I have you here. So give people an idea of why you decided to jump on this podcast, because all of us have a story, Nicole. You know that, right? I'm sharing mine to break the stigma and support the cause around mental health. And the response has been amazing. And I appreciate you sharing yours. So give people an idea. Who's Nicole Johnston? What's your story? And how are you helping the world become better?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. Well, first of all, I'm a Canadian Indigenous artist with deeply rooted New Age spirituality. That's where I draw a lot of my inspiration from: nature, my spirituality. And my goal with my art is to bring awareness to healing within, right? And honoring who you are authentically. So that's what my goal is with my art. The reason why I felt inspired to join this podcast is because
you're fucking bold. That's why, because you're fucking bold.
I admire your heart and I admire your drive and what your intentions are with this podcast. So I really respect that a lot. And for someone who deals with mental health issues such as bipolar, borderline personality disorder, I feel like my plate is overloaded, where it's like, wow, I have a lot to heal. So I feel at times, right?
Yep.
And did I answer your questions?
No, yeah. I mean, you have a lot. You have a lot to unpack. So, tell about the. Let's talk about the art for a second. What kind of art is it? Okay.
My art ranges anywhere. I like cats. I've explored like nature, animals. My art is all about exploration of what you're interested in, right? Like knowing that you can do something and create it and go with that and make something beautiful. I still feel like there's so much to learn, and I don't feel sometimes like I've just accepted that title of an artist in my life. I've been painting for 15 years plus some, right? My childhood and my teen. And it's when I had that awareness of like, whoa, no, I am an artist, and that empowerment of like, wow, I'm doing this. No one else is doing it for me. I'm the one putting that paint on the paint canvas, right?
That's right. And how somebody listening right now said, well, you know what? I relate to this, but I haven't tapped into my artistic side yet. I'm dealing with mental health issues. I feel that I'm struggling. I'm challenged. I like what she's saying. How does your art provide you with therapy? Let's talk about that for a second. How is your art providing you with an outlet? And then when you're doing the art, how do you feel differently? Let me take a time out here for a second. Watch this. So, Michael Phelps, we all know Michael Phelps, the swimmer, right?
Yeah.
Olympic gold medalist and all that. What he had said and what stuck with me is that when he's in the water, he forgets about his mental health issues.
Yeah.
He's focused on what he's doing in the water. The challenge is when he gets out of the pool and now has to deal with life. So his therapy, basically what he's saying, is in the water. Your therapy is on canvas. So when you're not on canvas, I'm guessing you feel differently than when you are on canvas.
Canvas?
How are you painting? What are you painting on?
On canvas.
Okay, then canvas, right. So when you're painting, how are you feeling? How do you feel differently than when you're not painting? Let's talk about that for a second.
So just because I don't have a canvas I don't let anything stop me from painting. I'll paint on cardboard. I'll paint on boxes, books, like anything to keep that creative energy going. And the way that art has helped me with an outlet is moving those emotions, you know, using color therapy and connecting my inner being with my hand and my mind, right? And like when you're in that zone, your thoughts get carried away, and next thing you know, you're answering your own questions of like, wow, why didn't I think of that before?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And what I noticed about you right away is your energy. Like, I would never suspect that you have dealt with such a, I'm going to call it traumatic background with the way you present yourself on your posts and your reels, and your expression is energetic. Like, I would say you have a permagrim. Permagrim means you smile a lot. Are you smiling through a lot of your pain?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I've learned that in Native culture, when they're going through grieving or depression or anything like that, they turn to laughter and humor, right? And I always thought my humor was a little twisted at times, right? Because it can get a little dark.
Wait, let's talk about that for a second. That's why we're here. You can get bold for a second. Why and what type of humor do you feel is dark? Like, share something with us.
Oh, dark humor, you know, like, you know, just sit back and watch the world burn kind of like mentality, and laugh about it, and like the chaos of like what can I control? Ultimately, the only person that I can control is my little bubble.
Yeah.
Right. I can only control what's going on up here, what's going on in my heart. Right. And trusting my spirit, that connection to source.
Have you ever gone to the far and deep to the point like, oh shit, I'm not sure if I can get back, no matter what I'm drawing, no matter how artistic I'm being, I think I'm pretty far out. Have you gotten to that point?
Yes. Ended up in a hospital.
And what was that for? Was it suicidal attempts?
No, I lost all sense of reality. I thought I created a story in my head and I believed it was real. And I just lost all sense of presence, right? Like I was out in the ethereal, you know, I was experiencing the supernatural in my head. So yeah, I had to be brought back to earth.
When was that?
3 years ago. It's been 3 years since I've been hospitalized.
Okay. And
which
how
is
long?
Huge, because
huge.
My pattern was every year and a half. So for me to go 3 years without being hospitalized is, like, for me, huge.
Yeah. I would say it's huge. And there's never been that suicide ideation attempts or thoughts mixed in with that?
Oh, of course there is.
Oh, there is.
Right?
Okay.
I'm human.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I felt it 2 days ago. Like, I was laying in bed crying, and I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? This is old behavior. This is old patterns. And I sat up and I gave myself a little shimmy, right? And I was like, I got to shake this off. I got to
shake it off because I got that Be Fucking Bold Guy podcast to do.
Right? You know, and like even the act of having a shower to wash off that energy, you know, like, you know, like to let it go and just trust that this is my life, my experience. And today I choose not to feel this way. Like, that's huge for me, to know that I have a choice over my feelings.
That's right.
You know,
I have my 11-year-old son. I tell him every morning, let's have a good day by choice. The greatest power we have as human beings is the power of choice.
Exactly.
Now, is it always easy? Fuck no, it's not always easy. It's not easy, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, we have that power, and it's practicing and tapping into it. I relate it to, again, you've heard me say this before, if you follow me, the golfer on the golf course. Yeah. No golfer in history has ever hit a hole-in-one on every single hole. Never, hasn't happened.
Yeah.
However, they can still master the game of golf by keep becoming better and better each day. We become masters of our thoughts. Therefore, we become masters of our existence.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I knew I liked you.
Yeah. What's your daily non-negotiable? Like, what's your training regimen? For me, I have mine. You know, if you follow me, you know mine. What's yours? What's Nicole doing every morning when the eyes open up? The first thing you're going to do before you even get out of bed is what?
I've actually adopted your technique. Like before I get out of bed now, I lay there and I just think about what I am grateful for today, what I am thankful for. And I just get that momentum of like, yes, my needs are met today, just for today, right? Like I'm not going to worry about tomorrow. I'm not going to worry about next week. Just for today, my needs are met. And it's like every time I get into that mindset, my needs are met plus some.
Right. Yeah, it is a mind. It is definitely a mindset. And what I have realized is that the more we practice this, the more the brain gets signaled at this is becoming my new norm. So if you're practicing it over, and because the brain's a muscle, right? It's not happening in your hand. You know, you're not feeling depression. My hand's not fucking depressed. It's here. Everything happens in the control tower right here.
Yeah.
So once we can control this and understand it's happening right the fuck here, nowhere else, and focus on that when you get in that meditation and focus on how would I feel if I didn't feel fucked up by the thing that's fucking me up, and then sit with it.
Yeah.
Because your body's going to answer you. There's two sides of that coin. So when you're sitting in that meditation or in bed and giving gratitude, what are the top 3 to 5 things you are grateful for on a daily basis?
Oh, my home, my kids, and my art.
There you go. How many kids do you have?
I have 3.
Are they all living at home or no?
No. My oldest 2 are living together in South Edmonton, and my youngest lives with her dad, Northeast Edmonton.
Are they experiencing anything that you've gone through and any type of the mental health challenges you've experienced?
Yeah. Yeah. They deal with anxiety, depression. My middle child, she actually voiced concern of like, Mom, am I going to follow your footsteps where I have to be hospitalized? And I'm like, let's hope not. You know, like I said, if you can figure out how to move through life where there's a balance, right? And move with those emotions instead of suppressing them and not dealing with them as they come up and feeling them, right? Like to sit there when you're actually sad and like go, wow, okay, this is actually how it feels in my body. Oh, the tears are warm, right? Like actually absorb the moment and go, okay, I felt sad now. Now what? Oh, dishes need to get done. Oh, right? Like feel it, sit with it, acknowledge it, but we got to move on. That's what I got to do.
As you're saying this, not only am I hearing you, I'm feeling what you're saying. And I relate it to, I've never surfed in my entire life. I've done boogie board with my son, but I've seen surfers enough to recognize this and have an analogy for this. The surfer doesn't own those waves. Those waves are part of the ocean. But what the surfer is perfecting and getting better at is how to ride those waves. You know, and without that surfboard, I don't care how good of a surfer you are, you're not going to ride the waves. So my analogy is let's learn how to ride the waves of life. Let's get on that board and learn how to go with the flow of life, you know, and without the waves kicking our ass, first of all, we have to understand we have a surfboard. The surfboard is within us. Let's get on that board and learn how to ride the waves. So, does that make sense to you?
Yeah. So and then learn the fancy moves where you can cut carves, right? Instead of directing where you want to go. Instead
of allowing them to kick your ass.
Yeah.
So Nicole 12 months ago to the Nicole today, right now, now we're towards the end of May, 12 months ago last year at this same time, how are you different today than you were 12 months ago?
How am I different? More determined, more ambitious. I started a website 2 months ago, and I built it from nothing. Like, and to have that accomplishment of like, wow, I did that.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty cool. Trying to balance like the idea of how do I remain myself, but try to market myself. Like that's a struggle. Especially when you have like a twisted perspective of like how the world works and you're just trying to find that wave, right?
Right.
For me, a year ago, I was very depressed. I was very down and out. I always saw the negative in life.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas today I see life and love, and that's my biggest struggle right now with certain personalities where it's like, holy smokes, like, am I shining too bright because your negativity is through the roof? Like,
Yeah, you recognize it.
yeah.
You recognize that. So are you at a point right now where you can say, you look in the mirror, and this is part of my daily practice. I literally, after I do my power of gratitude in the morning, I get up and there's a mirror right next to my bed, a circular mirror that I actually look in that mirror and look myself right in the face. And I'm saying, I am life.
Yeah.
I love life. I love who I am. I love me. Not too long ago, Nicole, I was standing in the mirror with a gun in my hand,
Wow.
a pearl handle pistol in my hand, thinking about ending my life, blowing the brains out the side of my head on the bathroom floor. I've said that millions of times. Now I'm in the mirror looking at myself with love, respect, gratitude, a deep, genuine love for life.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that what that takes is to rewire the brain. That is called neuroplasticity. This is not the same brain that was staring in the mirror with the gun in my hand. This is a completely different brain. I did rewire the brain. I changed the negative to a positive. It sounds like you did the same thing. And how does that happen for you? Does it happen through meditation, affirmations? What's your daily practice to get to that point?
Starting out, flipping the script. Like when I started hearing those negative, intrusive thoughts of like, you're a failure, or you're low life, or whatever those thoughts were, right? Like to sit there and go, okay, well, at least I'm trying, progress over perfection. Like just started like these little sayings that my mom taught me over the years, just start actually absorbing them and feeling them. And yeah, the biggest one is, again, looking in the mirror and just reminding myself I am a spiritual being having a Nicole experience. And today I love life. Today I actually see heaven on earth when I look outside, right?
Yep.
And that's pretty wow compared to where I was a year ago.
There you go. It's always have to go. I don't spend a lot of time. There's a reason why the rear view mirror in the vehicle is a lot smaller than the front windshield, because we don't spend a lot of time in that mirror. I don't. I used to, no more. So the voices in your head, whose voices are cutting you down? Is it yours, or is it something that you were programmed with as a kid that's still lingering?
Probably both. Like you pound a rock enough times, it crushes, right? Mm-hmm. And I think when you've heard those things externally for so long, you start believing it. And so it's a learned behavior, definitely is. And that's like you said, the beauty of our mind is we can reprogram it and we can rewire those thinking.
We learn work, and we learn, like, you took the words out of my mouth. We learn speaking from experience, we learn the language of depression. We learn the language of worries. We learn the language of worst case what ifs, and a lot of times it happens through our upbringing, our childhood. And I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. Now, I did that for the longest time. It's useless, because those people, they went through the same thing that we're going through, and they were taught the same thing they're teaching. So when you were growing up, you just said a minute ago that your mother is an optimist.
My mom is very much optimist and always looks at the brighter side of things. Um, very in tuned spiritually, you know, like very in tune with her body, her mind, her spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And she's always been my biggest advocate and, you know, believing in me when I didn't believe in myself.
So who did the negative programming then? Wasn't mom when you were a kid? She wasn't the critic. She's not the
I
critic.
think it was family dynamics, not just my mom. I think it was a whole circle of personalities that contributed to the toxicity of my family.
And that left you feeling how? Not good enough?
Fear of abandonment, big time. Like for the longest time, if someone made a promise to me, I would never get excited about it because I was always let down. The broken promises, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now today I love surprises because it's like, just don't even tell me that you're going to do something. Just surprise me. I'd rather be surprised than let down. That's how I feel.
That's a way to look at it. Sure, it really is. And as far as you having the optimist, do you have your mother's optimistic outlook? Do you think because she instilled that in you at such a young age, you carry that with you throughout childhood and now and even adulthood?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, my mom's was a single mom with 2 kids, and she had to deal with her own stuff, and she brings up her past a lot and like talking about what she should have done different. And I said, stop. I said, you did the best you can with who you are, with where you were, with what you had at that time in your life. Like, stop. Like,
Right. So dad was not in the picture growing up for you?
no, my dad, I only met him 3 times in my entire life.
Nicole, do you think that has something to do with it as far as you feeling the need for validation? Dad wasn't there, so I'm not. If your dad wasn't there, that means I'm not good enough, and you're always seeking external validation. Does that come into play?
It's been said to me so many times, I believe it. Right?
How do you feel?
From
Whether
counselors and my mom, you know, like, oh, you didn't have a dad, but I had a stepdad who accepted me as his own, and I called him dad my whole life. And so I always felt like I had a dad, but it wasn't an everyday dad. I only saw him every second weekend, you know. And
how does that make you? And let me just preface this. When I was a kid, I tell my son this all the time. I've told him more this week that I love him than I heard my entire childhood.
yeah,
So mom for me was the critic. Dad was a perfectionist. So no matter where I turned, I wasn't good enough.
right,
Mom it was always mom nagging,
yeah,
and then she got physically abusive with me, pulling the hair out of my head and,
yeah,
scratching the face and all that shit. So I went through that, physical abuse. My love for dad was contingent upon me doing well in school.
right,
Well, I hated school. When I was younger, I was labeled physically handicapped. I went to school with a brace, and I didn't want to fucking be in school because I had this big awkward brace. I rode the little yellow short bus. I was physically handicapped, and I didn't want to draw attention to myself because of how I felt. So, of course, I didn't want to be in school. So, if my grades are going to get my dad's love, then my grades sucked. And guess how that worked out? So I get it. I understand that. So, getting back to you. If you're feeling dad's not in the picture, subconsciously, are you feeling then maybe I'm not good enough because dad's not here? Subconsciously, you're feeling that?
That's a tough question, right? Like, because I dealt with all these things a long time ago, and I never really put much thought into like not having a dad all the time because my mom did everything for us.
Mm-hmm.
And there was also, my mom had boyfriends, right? So on I guess for me, the biggest part is seeing the toxicity of relationships, and whereas like I'm not going to tolerate that, I'm not going to tolerate that, and yet I get into a relationship and here I am tolerating it, and it's like, okay. Like,
You're repeating pattern, repeating behavior.
yeah, so am I following my mom's pattern, or is it because I don't have a dad? Like there are so many factors as to why I am who I am, and why the decisions I've made over the years have molded me into being. For me, like I had to make peace with my dad in the sense of thank you for giving me life, right? That's how I honor him, and just saying thank you, because I understand there's toxicity of alcoholism and drug abuse, and it's like I don't want that around my kids. And yet here I am doing the exact same thing to my kids through my past actions, right? So it's like, how do I move forward? How do I sit there and beat myself up for the past mistakes I've done? Or do I sit there and go, all right, I made a mistake.
Right. We only know what we know. We don't know what we don't know. So the best thing I have ever learned, experience, is that, wait a minute, my mom gave birth to me, my dad and mom, but I came through them, but I'm aligned with something so much bigger than them, and once I got that, once I got my brain to understand that, like, I think, I don't know if I typed it to somebody. I said, when I started changing it, that my life to I am life, everything started to shift, because my life is so small. But when I say I am life, that takes it to a whole nother level. Now you're a spiritual being. Now you're a miracle in God's highest form of all creation. Yeah. Now you're a supernatural being, having a supernatural experience, living a life of infinite possibilities and unlimited potential. And your brain hears that and likes that. Say, okay, well, yeah, they were my parents, but I'm connected and aligned with something so much bigger than those two people, which means, right? So then you start thinking, well, fuck, I don't have to be my life doesn't be so connected and attached to what they did, what they didn't do, what they should have said, what they didn't say. All that shit goes away when you take yourself away from it and take your attention away from that and place it on something so much bigger than that. That's
exactly. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, you worded it perfect.
Well, I've been through a lot of it, Nicole, and I'm glad I would never wish it upon anybody what I went through. But again, I would never change it for anything, because it made me who I am today.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And now I am on a mission, literally a mission to change break the stigma, give support, hope, and encouragement, because so many people don't have that. And once you get a taste of this new life, you don't ever want to go back.
Yeah.
You really don't.
Yeah, it's true. Hey, so I got out of bed. Right?
Yeah. Were drugs and alcohol, were they an issue for you at one point?
Over the years, yeah.
Both drugs and alcohol?
Yeah. Right? Like love is a drug. Sex is a drug, coffee is a drug, sugar is a drug. I do have an addictive personality, and I used to. Today I'm doing better, but I used to do whatever I can to stuff the emotions, right? Like suppress them, not feel them, overindulge on food. Like it could be anything. Like I used to be over 300 pounds.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So when you start doing that internal work of like, no, I deserve to be happy. Like the weight is just falling off of me, and I'm not even trying hard.
See, that's great. I relate to the addictive personality part, and I say, now, what about a positive addiction? Can I change it? OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, to desire. True. Now I have a desire. Like I can take the same energy. Is never created or destroyed. It just changes form. So if I had a destructive personality that was taking me in the wrong direction, what if I flipped the switch? What if I flipped the switch and said, okay, rather than using that in a destructive way, why don't I just take the same energy, flip it, convert it, and now do good with it rather than just fuck myself up? So now I'm out there doing good with the same energy. I'm giving it away. Everything I learned, I'm using the same energy, but in a different way. Rather than drink, run to the next event, buy the next car, make more money, be addicted to the things that had no substance. Now I'm taking the same energy and using it for better, for good.
Yeah. But it's also, for me, delicate balance. Like when you were talking about the addictive of good, what was coming to me was like, oh man, being joyful, like that feeling of like euphoric, like that comes from within because you're actually doing stuff. Like for me, building a website is huge, right? Getting sales is like, whoa, and people loving my art is just like, and that excitement is addictive. And then when you have moments where like, okay, well, now it's a quiet day and there's no excitement, what do you do next, right? And to sit with that and go, okay, every moment doesn't have to be on that wave of like, woo. Like
the dopamine rush. I don't know if you saw the interview with me and Dr. Daniel Lieberman, The Molecule of More. His book, it's called The Molecule of More. It's on YouTube. It talks all about, this guy is phenomenal. And that book, I told him, I said, Dan, it sounds like you wrote this book for me, because I was literally on a dopamine rush, a path to create dopamine hits, excitement. I built an entire career around it, a very wealthy career around a dopaminergic, a dopamine-driven lifestyle. Okay. And I said the other day, it's like if you can see my hand, so this was a hit, this was a hit, this was a hit, this is a hit. But in between these hits, that's when I started feeling that I had, the depression started, high functioning depression, because when I'm on my dopamine hits, I'm feeling fine. But getting from here to here, sometimes there was like you just said, a gap. And when I was gap, that's when I started feeling, oh shit, I got to get back out there. I got to get back on the road. I got to make more money. I got to do the show. I have to do more. And then I would bounce. But then eventually all that shit came crumbling down. And that's when the bottom fell out for me. So now what you're saying, I can relate to. So how do you deal with it? How do you deal with when you're not painting, when you're not making money? How do you sit with the quiet time? Share with somebody who's listening right now and saying, well, how do you do that, Nicole? How do you sit with it?
I get a fuzzy blanket and I watch a movie, just one movie. I don't binge watch. I just sit and watch one movie that just lets me escape from my thoughts, from the pressures I put on myself, like just something to escape. So if you read, right, I fall asleep reading. So I would like to watch movies. I was actually just introduced to a show called Waking Life. I've been watching that over and over because it's so in depth with like how I think, and it's so philosophical, where I'm like, wow, I have to rewatch that because I think I missed something. Like,
what is it? Waking Life is on Netflix?
You can find it on YouTube. Just look up Waking Life full movie. It's an animation movie, but it's very artsy. It was like from the Film Festival. Yeah. So beautiful artwork in it, and it's all about having vivid dreams, right? And our consciousness moving on beyond death. Like, it's really a fascinating show. Like,
it sounds deep. Are you a meditator?
Yes, I do meditate.
Is that a daily practice for you, meditation?
Sometimes, yeah. More times than not. If I find taking those few moments and just closing my eyes and just being present, calms me down, slows my thinking, slows my racing thoughts, and helps me focus on what is important to me, which is right now my art. And right now, just my art. Like, it feels so weird to be like, wow, I was a hairdresser for 25 years, then got put on disability, and now here I am pursuing my art. Never in my life did I imagine I'd be here.
Well, hairdresser and is artistic in a way.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And then when you meditate, are you sitting in a chair with music, or share with somebody what your style of meditation is? Because I mean, there's different. My way, I think, is a little unconventional, a little different. How do you meditate?
I meditate basically wherever I am, wherever I feel I have that moment of just peace. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm doing dishes, I'll like, close my eyes and just keep my hands in the water and just sit there for a few minutes and just feel like be present, right? And even folding laundry, I get mesmerized and all of a sudden I'm meditating. Um, I think it's a practice of like, and that came over time. I didn't just wake up and be like, oh, okay, I'm going to meditate everywhere I'm going. Like
Right.
it's just being in that mode of just being present. And because when I'm not present, I'm on
Mm-hmm.
autopilot and I'm running around and I'm bumping into things and I'm not present. And then I have to slow down, take that moment of meditative, like just stand there for a second, close my eyes and just be present, feel the wind, right? Like, because then I slow down and then I'm not bumping into things as soon as I calm myself down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you medication? Are you taking any medication for any of this mental health challenges?
Yes, I do. I take an antipsychotic. And the cool thing is my doctor respects, like, because when I first got diagnosed with bipolar, I would not accept it. I was like, I don't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started getting the symptoms and then started being hospitalized, I was like, okay, this is real. And I started documenting like how it affects my thinking. And I started like paying attention to like the signs of like when a manic happens and all that. And with his permission, I'm allowed to increase my medicine when I start getting those manic feelings of like racing thoughts
Mm-hmm.
and I'll take that for a few days and then I can wean myself back to where I don't feel like a zombie, because that's the other thing is like you go on it too high and it's like I'm not present and I don't feel anything. That's not
Right.
where I want to be.
No, is lithium part of your prescription?
Risperidone.
Or Risperdal?
Risperidone. Yeah.
Anybody listening right now saying, "Well, I don't know. Maybe I have bipolar tendencies." What's somebody? We lost a family member to someone who had bipolar. He actually committed suicide, and it was tough. I'm very close. My cousin's husband, actually. So, and he's gone. I'm thinking, is there anything that could have helped this guy? Anything could have helped him. What could have saved him? What changed? So here you are. You're diagnosed with bipolar. You're taking your medication. You're still challenged. So the person listening right now is saying, "Well, I think maybe I have some bipolar tendencies." What do they look like?
How for me, I start generating like idea after idea after idea, and I'll be like writing a lot, using social media more, like posting more rapidly, um, high energy, like everything is just going so smooth, like everything's just rose colored glasses mentality. And then you start not wanting to sleep. Like sleep is like a burden. And next thing you know, you're like sleeping like 2 hours. And then sometimes you're up for days. And that's when the delusion, unfortunately, starts taking hold. So for me, like knowing that that's where I could bleed is really important for me to manage with the help of medicine, because it's there to help us. It's not there to hurt us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I look at it. Look at it as it's a crutch to help me get through, to help stabilize my moods. And when I hit those lows, like I said a couple days ago, I was having those thoughts, but it was so fleeting.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of like, because when I realized like, hey, what am I doing? Like, this is my choice. This is my experience. I am a divine spiritual being having this experience, and I don't want to experience laying in bed crying. You're right. Like I've done this enough. Been there, done that. So yeah, like
you feel it coming. So in other words, you can actually feel it coming on. You know, you can kind of sense like the storm off in the distance. Is that fair?
yeah. And that's getting to know yourself, right? Like paying attention. Like I am my own scientist, right? I am my own physician in the sense of I live in this body 24/7. I understand what pain feels like. I understand, how my manic feels like to me, because to say that everyone's exactly the same, I don't agree with that, because what I experience as manic might be something totally different than what another person experiences, right? And I think it's really important to know yourself and recognize, oh wait, okay, I'm starting to have like racing thoughts and I'm talking faster. It's like, okay, slow down, do it. Like bringing myself, meditating really helps in those moments, but being aware of like, okay, it's happening more than one day, it's happening 3 days in a row, like that's a sign, right? Because it's creating a pattern. Being aware of the patterns.
And it's aside from the prescription medication, are you taking supplements on the side as well?
Vitamin C's and D's.
D is so important.
Yeah.
And exercise, are you walking, Nicole? Are you getting out there? Because I when I'm listening to you, I'm feeling you, and I'm saying, okay, when I was in a situation like that, I had to walk. I couldn't stay in the house. If I get on my fucking bike or go start walking, I put my hokas on. I did a couple of reels with how much I enjoy walking and how the hokas. I look forward to it. It was a very comfortable walk. I loved getting out there and walking. But when when the walk was in and I had to come back in the house and the sun started setting, that's when I started freaking out because I knew what was coming next.
Yeah.
I don't know how long you've ever gone without sleep, but I've gone, close 6, 8, 10, 12 months with sporadic sprinkles of 90 minutes spread out of sleep for years. That's how bad it was. It was awful. Oh, wow. So yeah. And when you're going out there, are you walking physical exercise?
Not every day. But I do enjoy walking. I hurt my back 3 weeks ago, and taking long walks is too much. Like I tried doing some yard work yesterday and I was bent over and my back was just on fire. So I was like, okay, I don't know what I did. But so I've been trying to do yoga, and if you follow her, Dara M, on TikTok, she's really amazing. She's very down to earth and works with me, because I'll message her. I'm like, hey, do you have anything to strengthen hips? Right?
What's your page called? Let people know your page. On
at Nicole Cazzoni.
That Nicole Cazzoni, spell it.
NicoleKazzoni.
Okay, that's how people can find you. And your work is there. I mean, you come up, and I've always seen you come up with these posts that are, like I said earlier, they're just very energetic and serene. I really hope people start to check out your work, because it is a peaceful energy that you present to people, and you also give them an outlet. Like sometimes if you're having a bad day and your post pops up, it says, okay, this could be like my little reset. So what you're doing is making a difference. I'm not sure how much of an impact you're having, but every little bit helps somebody in some way.
And that's my hope, right? Like I hope to inspire people to find their joy and their happiness, and that's what I hope for me as a content creator, is to, be wonderfully me. And there's trust me, I've had times where I was like, whoa, that's a lot of light I'm shining out there, and I had to do stuff to honor my shadow. Right. Like watch a scary movie or read a scary book, like I honor the darkness within too, because it's all about balance. And if I don't honor that, and am I suppressing more? I think so. Right.
Yeah. Right. And then where do you see yourself? Because you talked about where you were 12 months prior to this. And 12 months from now, where do you see yourself being as far as mental health? Where would you like to be? Let's say you can fast forward 12 months today from now, and you're 12 months ahead. Where would you want to be 12 months from today?
Honestly, I love where I am today. So to imagine something better is like, whew, okay. How much better can it get? I don't know. Right? Because I honestly, I do love my life, and I love the pace at which my business is growing, and I love, like, I love the way I move throughout my day, and like having this opportunity to talk to you is like, oh my gosh. Like I feel honored, and so like, wow, I can't believe I'm doing this.
Yeah, well, I feel honored to have you. And I always say this, for the longest time, perfection was part of my DNA, and it's such an illusion. It's like the greyhound at the track, trying to chase that little rabbit. That those dogs will never get that rabbit ever, but they don't know that it's an illusion. So when I was chasing perfection, it always came up short. I was never good enough, and I learned that as a kid, right? So now my change, that again, energy switch. I say to myself on a daily basis, perfection is an illusion. However, excellence is attainable. And in the pursuit of excellence, you will discover the best version of yourself. And that's what you're doing. And if somebody asked me the same question I just asked you, well, Brett, where do you want to be in 12 months? I want to be completely in alignment with the universal purpose for my existence, and inspiring as many people as possible and helping them live their best life by discovering the best version of themselves. That's where I like to be,
That's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, I think that's what we're here for. I would never be here doing this if I didn't go through what I went through. So there's always a lesson in everything, and you're a shining example of that, Nicole. I really believe that. I really feel that coming from you. And I really admire the work you're doing. And I really suggesting, encouraging people, find you on social media, find you, because you are making a difference.
It will happen. I have faith, and I appreciate, like I said, this opportunity is just like, oh my gosh, maybe this was the boost I needed, or like, who knows? But I'm so grateful. Like, I think you have such an amazing heart to even like give people this opportunity, to share their stories and share their truths. And I don't know, I really admire who you are as a person and as a inspiration to others. So thank you.
Thank you. It means a lot. I think I feel that I have this obligation. Otherwise, if I wasn't doing this, what a waste of time. What a waste of my experience in life to have to go through that hell and then not do anything with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I went through it. God got me through it. I'm a different person because of it. Now here, take everything I did and I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to open up like a book. I'm going to share it with you. And then whatever you want to take from it, you can take anything you want. I'm freely giving it away. And I hope that it lands somewhere to help your journey become a little bit better. That's awesome.
So like with my art, when I started this idea of like, okay, I'm going to use TikTok and Facebook and all this stuff, is what came to me was someone somewhere out there loves my art. And I don't know who they are, but in a world of 8 billion people, I know that there's someone, right? Because I have people who love my art here. So I think the same goes for your, spreading this kind of awareness and this inspiration is someone somewhere out there needs to hear it. And I think it will land in front of them when it's meant to. Like,
that's right. I love the saying, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. You've heard that before?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. What's your favorite thing to draw? I mean, when you're painting, what do you like lose yourself in? And when you're like, let me give you an example. When I'm doing my reels, I'm talking to camera. When I'm out there video, I love this. When I'm doing this, I feel like I'm right in my zone because I really love sharing and hearing people's stories. When you're doing your art, what's your favorite thing to paint? What do you get lost in?
Spirals. And like squiggle lines, like, and making those lines just perfect, and like making sure they're like even. Like, I get lost in that, and but my comfort is feathers. I love feathers.
Is it really feathers? Yeah. How was your winter up there in Canada? Did you guys get a brutal winter?
Actually, this year was pretty mild in my opinion, because usually we get like 2 weeks of like a freeze,
Yeah,
and this year we only had a week. So I was like,
that's
there's
it.
a shift happening. I know there is, right? So
Yeah. And does that weather affect? I was born and raised Michigan, and I couldn't wait to get out of there because I was just saying this a minute ago on my previous podcast with Andrea Thompson. I cannot. I have a hard time functioning when there's no sunshine. And being born and raised in Michigan, we had more gray, cloudy, miserable days than we had sunshine. And it really plays it's scientifically proven. It's called SAD, SAD, seasonal affective disorder. So this first chance I got to get the hell out of there, I went to California, and my favorite states are California, Arizona, and Florida, where the sun shines more than it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
So how do you do up there when you have bipolar, you have the challenges of mental health, you have these racing thoughts, and then you have that weather on top of it that's gray and dismal? Is that affecting you?
It really can. But what I've learned recently is, instead of complaining about the weather, just let the weather be. Right. And as soon as you like try and like stop griping about it and just like feel it and go, okay, it's raining, or okay, it's thundering, and sit with it and enjoy it, and be in awe of like nature's wonder, I think is more captivating. That keeps me in good spirits.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
No, it does. And I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm thinking, so what was with me? I think my brain, I really believe I'm solar powered. So my brain got a taste of having sunshine in the middle of January,
Right.
T-shirts and shorts. When I call my family back where it's cold and they're saying, well, we're freezing our asses off here, I'm like, God, thank you, I'm not back there.
Yeah.
Thank God I'm not back there. I just don't do well with it. So maybe I've got accustomed to having that type of lifestyle where I'm in the sunshine, year round. So I truly deeply enjoy it. I thrive in it. I really do.
Yeah.
I love it.
I don't know. I imagine what it'd be like to live in somewhere where it's like all sunshine all the time, right? But I was like, I'd miss the snow. I'd miss the season changes. I would, spring. I love spring because that's when like the earth is waking up, right?
That's right. Yeah, going into a new season.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what's your plans, Nicole? What summer you going? Do you have a little group you get together up there with artists? Do you have a community of people that get together when you're doing your art together? Do you have something like that?
Not yet. Group? No, not yet. I'm starting to get to know some other creatives around here. I started a Facebook group called Parkland County Creators and Artists, and it's fascinating. I have friends that I've been friends with for over 10 years, and I found out, oh my gosh, they create beautiful works of art. And I was like, I didn't even know. So it's really neat as I push myself out there more consistently. More people are like, hey, I do this too. And it's like, oh, wow, like this is so cool.
Yeah, it is cool. My mother is an artist. My brother took that part of it. My claim to fame is having the best looking stick figures on earth. So that's when I hear people like you, I'm like, God, it's got to be such a great gift to be able to sit down and draw and create like that. We're all creative in our own ways. What if if you took your talents to, let's say, a few of the nursing homes around, and you said, hey, I want to come in once a week and sit down with people and just teach them a little art class on how to paint? Would you be open to something like that?
I'd have to explore that a little bit more. I don't know. I think I'd love to try like doing like a paint night or something.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I when I was a teenager, I worked in it was a job placement program, and I got put in a nursing home, and I lasted 2 days. I was in tears. I was like, this is too heartbreaking.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So. Yeah. To know that was their last stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a great grandmother from Sicily. She lived to be 105 years old, and my family did everything they could to keep her out of a nursing home. But at towards the end of her life, they had to put her in a nursing home, and we go visit her. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
The rooms would smell like urine. They were just talking themselves. It was. So I understand what you're saying. It can be mind wrenching to see somebody have to go out like that, you know?
Well, I was 14 also. So like,
Yeah.
I was very like immature mindset and very selfish, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like my mother-in-law, she's 74, I think.
Yep.
You know, and I know she enjoys like when I go down and visit and talk to her, right? Like she enjoys those little moments, and it's like I imagine myself at that age, and it's like, oh, well, I hope my kids will come and visit me, you know, or and it's like, I'll be making friends.
Right. You have no problem with that. No problem. As I bring this in for a landing, I want to ask you, what's the best part about being Nicole? What would you love, fill in the blanks? Do you love this part of you? What do you love about being you?
What I love about me is that when I've had enough is enough. And I will make the necessary changes to better myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing I've always admired about myself is I might get knocked down, but I know how to fix myself up again and bring myself into a place where I love who I am. It's just I need to learn how to honor that and keep it sacred.
Right.
And that's what I feel I am in my life at this point.
That's good. That's beautiful. You know, they say when you get knocked down, if you can look up, you can get up, right? You heard that? Yeah. And that's who you are. Well, you're a gem of a person, and I really appreciate having you on today. And I know that people are going to reach out to you and want to know more about you. So thank you again for sharing your time with us today on this podcast.
Thank you.
And I wish you nothing but the best, because you have that in you. You have that drive. You have that ambition. You have the energy. You have what it takes to ascend to the highest level you choose to go to.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We'll have to have you back on. As you grow, we'll have you back on.
Sounds great.
All right, Nicole. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.